Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are having a look at some of the vehicles that are on sale for the summer sale in War Thunder. This is going to be a video covering Japan, France, China, Sweden, and also Israel. The basic reason why is because most of these nations only have like one or two vehicles to cover, so I thought I'd kind of just mash them all into one video so it's a little bit easier for you. So let's start off with Japan. We start off with the Type 16 FPS. This vehicle is very similar to all the other Type 16s that we have in the game. Basically, when it comes to Japan, they obviously made a decision a few years ago to kind of split up vehicles into their general variants, just to kind of make the tech tree a little bit easier to play through and also give different lineups. So the difference between stuff like this Type 16 FPS and stuff like the standard Type 16 is basically just the round, and that's the only thing. So this vehicle has access to DM23, it gets very good thermals, it gets an LWS LR, it also gets a Scouts and also Scouting, and it's just a fantastic light vehicle which you can play. The only issue that I've ever had with this vehicle is the gun depression and also the kick of the gun. So what I mean by the kick of the gun is with its suspension, when you stop or brake, the suspension rocks. And what this means is if you screw up the timing when firing the gun, then it will bounce the gun upwards while you are firing on the target and you will miss. And this is something I do quite a lot because I'm not very good at controlling the suspension and gun handling at the same time. But this is a 105mm, it's basically an L7, it has a standard L7 reload, and it also has a very good APFSDS for this BR. Doesn't have a lot of survivability, but you have literally everything else, including even smoke grenades and a 50 cal. This vehicle is fantastic as a premium vehicle. The only one that is better than it is the Fuji, which is right here, so it's definitely worth picking this vehicle up. Another vehicle that is on offer is the Yamashiro, and after the BR decompression when it comes to naval, this one is in a much better position than it was previously. It's still not in a fantastic position, because it still faces a lot of the stuff that's kind of better than it, but it's more dependent on the BR and what people are actually playing now. So it might actually be in quite a nice place, which would be cool. It has 6 sets of dual-mounted guns, which all do a fantastic amount of damage. With the APCBC, you can see 13 kilos of TNT equivalent, also a lot of penetration afterwards too. The only thing that is kind of a problem with this vehicle is the other vehicles that are here, the Mikuma and also the Myoko, specifically the Mikuma. If it ends up going 50% off in a GE sale, I would say it's at a much better and nicer BR to play than the Yamashiro. So basically it just has really good premium competition compared to some of the other tech trees in the game that have maybe a little bit less, and therefore it's maybe not as good of a pick, but the vehicle itself is solid compared to what it was before, which was basically just a worse version of what you would play. The AV8S is also on sale for the Japanese. This is obviously the Thai vehicle, and it's very similar to the one that's actually in the tech tree. So basically what you have is you have the AV8S, which is right here, and then also you have the AV8S Late, which is here. So the basic difference between them is the armaments that they get access to. Like, for example, this one gets access to 4 AIM-9Ls, very similar to the Sea Harriers, whereas the AV8S, which is over here at 9.7, it only gets access to the AIM-9Ps. So this makes it obviously not as good as that vehicle, but at 9.7, where you face a lot of stuff which doesn't necessarily have countermeasures, these AIM-9Ps can easily just annihilate them. Now, I actually think the Ps are slightly worse than the Gs, which is the ones on the standard GR3 in the British tech tree, and also the missile that a lot of the American Harriers use. But the P is still serviceable, you know, it still turns very well, and also has a good length on it. It's just not as good as something like the G. The other thing this vehicle has is a lot of different armaments, including a ton of countermeasures if you want to bring them, but you do have to obviously be a little bit careful with that because it does take up another pylon, which you could maybe use for something else. It does have a bunch of incendiaries, so you can technically do that thing where you can, you know, take incendiaries and then bomb bases and then use the sidewinders after, but I don't think you should do that. I think this vehicle should be much more designed around the missiles, getting to high altitude, you know, kind of jousting and then hammering with the missiles on targets which don't have access to countermeasures. That's usually something that, you know, works very well with this. With the Thai tech tree coming in for Japan, there was also a bunch of other vehicles that also came in. And you still have some pretty good premiums in the F4EJ and then also the F2A ADTW, which they just added. So is the Matador a good pick? Well, if you compare it to the other ones that aren't on sale, probably not. It's probably better to look at these guys. Obviously, the F4EJ, if you're able to use the radar efficiently, it can be a very powerful vehicle. With the F2A, once again, it's all about how you can use the radar with the weaponry. But if you want something that's, I suppose, a little bit easier, and also a vehicle that has much more reliable killing power in something like air, then I suppose the AV-8S would be pretty worth doing. And also a lot of survivability with its countermeasures. I just think in general, when it comes to Japan, there's just some better premiums around the place, whether it be some of the Zeros like the A7, whether it be something like the F4EJ. The Chinese get the J-7D once again on sale. I feel like this one goes on sale every update cycle and every sale cycle. The J-7D is fantastic. It's basically just a MiG-21, which has access to a crazy amount of very good IR missiles. So you get basically 4 PL-7s, or you can get 4 of the PL-5Bs, or you could get a mixture of both, and then you get some extra armaments which are completely worthless. So just bring the air-to-air missiles. So it's whether you want Magic 1s or you want PL-5Bs, which offer something slightly different compared to them. For me, I generally think that PL-7s are just better to do. And at the BR that this vehicle is at, which is good old 10.7 in air, you're not going to run this thing in ground. It's just not very useful in ground. But in air at 10.7, you have countermeasures, you have speed, and you also have 4 of the best IR missiles in the game, which aren't all aspect. They might even be the best missiles in the game, which aren't all aspects. So it just gives you a fantastic platform to be able to just pick and hammer people. The only vehicles you're going to really struggle against when playing this type of thing is people who know how to use semi-active radar homing missiles and also know how to position against you to be able to use them against you. And as long as you yourself understand how multipathing works and also understand how to kind of survive on top of that, you'll be fine. But if you don't, then this might not be the pick for you. But there also isn't really a better vehicle to pick if you are grinding out the Chinese tech tree. This one is one of the best air-to-air fighters that you have in the premium area for pretty much any nation at the BR that it's at. It's fantastic and really fun, and I'd highly recommend this, and also the J7E. You also have the Mirage F1C-200. Now this one, it depends who you talk to, but it's kind of a mixed bag, right? So first of all, it has Magic 2s. Magic 2s are incredibly powerful, probably the best or maybe second best IR missile in the game, because they have the IRCCM, they have the all-aspect capability. Basically, it's just 2 boomsticks which are very, very hard to get away from, especially at this BR. Then you have this radar, the Cyrano IV, which many people don't like and don't enjoy using. And then you combine that with the other missiles that this has access to. So it gets some R530s, which you can either have the E's or you have the F's, which are the semi-active radar homing ones. You can technically bring the big old IR one if you really feel like it. I generally like the IRCCM head one, but, you know, it's not for everybody. So basically, you can bring like 3 pretty good semi-active radar homing missiles and then 2 of the best IR missiles in the game. But the semi-actives aren't that useful if you can't get the Cyrano IV radar working. So you need to understand how this works because it doesn't have as many modes and as many useful features compared to a lot of the other radars you'll face at this BR. The other problem with this is it's a 12.0 right now. And being a 12.0 means that you fight Hornets all day, and you'll also be fighting the F2 all day, and they are just supremely better than you, and you won't be able to do anything about it. So you'll just die. So that's a bit of a problem. Also, the RWR, not exactly great either. So not fantastic defensive capabilities, apart from the fact that you have a million countermeasures, but your offensive capabilities are technically very good if you can get the semi-actives going. If not, you still have 2 Magic 2s, which is just wonderful, but obviously not as good as what it could be if you get all the radars singing in a tune. The Somua is busted along with all of these vehicles for France that have autoloaders and also the double layer of oscillating turret armor. I've talked about this for years. They have gone up in BR several times. Some have even gone from 6.7 to 7.7. Other ones have gone from 7.0 to 7.7, such as the Somua. They are still insanely powerful. They are still really good. They have a fantastic autoloader, which means if you screw up a shot, that's fine. You can just shoot again. They also have very good gun depression and also are very good at basically just pushing forward. The only things that these vehicles don't have is they don't have stabilizers, which you don't really need because the targeting speed is generally very good on a vehicle like this. You can see the vertical and also the horizontal of this BR is pretty good for what you get out of it, especially since the turret itself is generally pretty stable. And you also don't get access to stuff like smoke grenades with a vehicle like this. So it is kind of all-out offense. You need to be the one who shoots first. You won't be able to kind of run away, so you have to make a very positive showing of yourself. And you can definitely do this with the Obus de Rupture. The 100mm here will pen through anything that you face, apart from some specific heavy tanks that you are going to have to aim for weak spots, but apart from that, you'll do great. The 7.7 lineup for France is insane. It is amazing. The Sobasse, the Lorraine, the AML-90, the AMX-1390, the AMX-50 TOA 100, and then also its supporting staff. And all of these vehicles have massively gone up in BR because they're all fantastic, and the Somua is exactly the same. Sweden has a Leopard on offer. I don't know how else to put it. It's a Leopard 2A4. It's the Christian 2. If you don't know what the Leopard 2 is by now, it's the quintessential kind of NATO MBT that is very powerful in War Thunder. It's one of the only sets of vehicles that have never really been buffed since they've been added, only nerfed, surprisingly. They are one of the only ones who actually have the kind of reload, which is only 6 seconds when aced instead of 5 or lower. Compared to a lot of other NATO MBTs, they've never got like better rounds, basically, and it's because they're just fantastic vehicles. They have great survivability with their great targeting speed, their great mobility, and also at the same time their use of DM23 and also the thermals and the laser and the smoke. They just have everything that you would want out of an MBT at this tier. You don't have any weaknesses. I know a lot of people like go on about the fact that, oh, well, you can't, you know, put the gun at the back of the tank anymore. Yeah, that sucks. Like, you can't turn the turret at the back. But let's not get into a mode where that means the vehicle is trash. The vehicle is still incredibly good. It's amazing to actually play. And after spading all of the Leopard 2s in the game, they are a breeze to play. And so is this one on top of it. It also has quite a fun lineup of a Leopard 2A4, a Leopard 2A4, and a Leopard 2A4. And then also the bill, you also have some AAs that you can run as well, which recently just got some buffs, and then also some light tanks that you can bring along too, along with some cast threats. So this lineup is fantastic for Sweden, and you also get this vehicle on top of it that just makes it really easy to play. You also have a Viggen that is on sale. This is the J37DI F21. This is the exact copy of the DI that is in the tech tree, which is at 13.0 on air and then 12.0 on ground, which is fun. Basically, what you have from this vehicle is a Viggen with access to very powerful weapons. You get the RB99, which is the AIM-120, and then you also get the RB74, which I believe is the AIM-9L. So you can bring 4 active radar homing missiles, and then you can also bring 2 of the AIM-9Ls. This is basically an air-to-air version of the Viggen, and if you understand how the AIM-120s work, you can do well with it. And then, you know, you have the AIM-9Ls on top of it. It's at 13.0 because the platform itself isn't that good, and you're going to run out of fuel like crazy in this thing. So basically, you need quick engagements where you fire off all your missiles and then go back to base and then kind of reset. Now, luckily, the meta works for that. Luckily, you know, you can have a pretty good time with that. But also at the same time, it is definitely on the harder end to do with this type of vehicle, even if you do have the PS46 radar, which lines up very well with your AIM-120s. I would personally say if you're looking for a premium, this probably isn't the one to go for, just because of the fact that you will have to, play quite high BRs to, go through it. And also you are just kind of a missile bus at the end of the day. There's not too much else you can do. And I think having a premium which has a little bit more than that might be worth going for. But I don't think this Viggen actually gives you that. But then again, you are super limited for options for Sweden if you are looking for a premium. But maybe the J35XS is just in a better place because all you have to do is monitor the countermeasures. You have everything else going pretty well for you with that. Right now, is this needed? Probably not. The last vehicle that's on offer is the Ram Segal. This is the Merkava, which is coming in. Well, it's not coming in. It's been here for ages for Israel, and it's coming in 50% in this summer sale. What you have here is just a Merc 3, and, that's what you want to make of it. It has, the 120, it has the standard Merkava mobility, which recently got buffed quite a lot, like over the last few years, so it actually has a reverse gear now. It has temperamental armor, I think is probably the way to put it. The armor itself just kind of gets shot through by all the mega rounds that they added about a year or two ago, and the overall, setup for the vehicle is fine. I just feel like when it comes to it, it's okay. There's nothing that's amazing about it. It has the LWS, which is really nice. Not a ton of MBTs at this BR have that. And then also you have the M322 round, which once again is fine and it works well, and that's all you really need. So what you have here is a vehicle which has a metric ton of smokes, it has decent mobility, and also it has a gun that can outlay a lot of damage. The problem is you just can't tank a shot in this thing. So survivability wise, you have to use your smokes effectively, you have to use your mobility effectively, and you cannot get shot, which with such a big vehicle that this is, it's a little bit hard to do. One of the problems with the Ram Segal as well is lineup. But nowadays, that is better, since you have the Neymar, then you have the Trishkin, and then also you have the other two Mark IIIs that you can run with it. So it might actually be a time to pick this thing up and give it a go because of that lineup. Even if it isn't that special, since it's very similar to the other Mark IIIs, it might be a vehicle to get you into that high tier and, so you can enjoy with. I personally am usually against stuff like that, though, just because of the fact that at 11.3, you have a vehicle which can get into the top tier matchmaking a lot, and that can be a problem because you're basically just facing better versions of yourself and you will just get smashed. That's always the issue with these high tier BR premiums, and that's why I always kind of recommend against them unless you really want to play the top tier without, proper vehicles. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.